It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
I mean, I got to follow a show where the last segment, the host said, just as horny, the tallest midget, and some kind of black. Hello, I'm Kevin Keatsman, and this is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. And forget having a serious show today. I got no chance of doing a serious show. Are you kidding me? That last segment by Pete Mundo had me rolling in the aisles. I am Kevin, and we've got a nice show lined up for you today. Coming up in about 30 minutes or so, there's a very strange death at a yacht club in Long Island, Montauk, of a young businesswoman, 33-year-old Martha Nolan O'Slatera, that the authorities there are looking strongly to Kansas City for how to proceed on this case. It looks and sounds eerily like those Chiefs fans that died in Kansas City a few years ago in the backyard of that man's house where they were having a Chiefs watch party because of drugs that were too strong, and they passed out or died outside and then froze in the cold, whatever. This is sounding like the same thing. We will tie that together. You may have heard of that case. We'll talk about that coming up in about 30 minutes. Also, we've got some arrest totals from the D.C. takeover, and Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island is now saying that Democrat mayors could use support from the National Guard. It's true, but not Trump's National Guard. We'll get to that all ahead on Uncanceled. We start today just having a little fun. KC's Sunfresh is closed. $29 million later, after the city spent bonds, building loans, ordinances, and shortfall transfers. Boy, that's a great line. I wish I could do that, like with my taxes at the end of the year. They say, well, you took this money and you spent this. We got to tax that. You took it out of this and you put it. Well, I'm sorry, sir. That was a shortfall transfer. That's a shortfall transfer. Okay, whatever the heck that is. For KC Sunfresh, it's now broke. It's done. There's signs on the door that say, due to unexpected or unforeseen consequences. Really, I think everybody saw them. We've seen it for years that isn't going to work. Look. The solution here is not government. The solution is David Booth. This is easy. Kansas City, Missouri, we need you, David Booth. You just gave $300 million to Kansas Athletics today. Can we get a Sunfresh? We have a food desert. These people have to walk a mile or pedal a mile or drive their car a mile to the closest store.
It's going to have to be a Dillon's.
A Dillon's. God help me. I pray. I'm going to pray every night the rest of my life. If I'm ever stranded in the desert, I spent a lot of time in the Mojave Desert, out in Arizona, the Sonoran Desert, a lot of desert areas. We're going to be driving through it here in a couple of weeks. It's going to be hot. Please, Lord, if I ever get stranded in the desert, please let me get stranded where the nearest water is only a mile away. And I'll also pray that there's no rattlesnakes. But I think I can walk a mile to get to water and stay alive. So the Sunfresh is closed. It's 9/10 of a mile to the Aldi down the street. I think it'll be okay. This is not government business. And I say it tongue-in-cheek because we're seeing the best of all of these issues that we discuss comes down to them just stealing our money and blowing it. And that is absolutely the case. I do not currently pay Kansas City, Missouri taxes, but I've paid plenty. I've owned businesses in Kansas City, Missouri. I've owned property in Kansas City, Missouri. I've paid plenty of taxes in Jackson County and Kansas City, Missouri in my life. And they take and they take and they take. For 10 years, I paid an income tax in Kansas City, Missouri of 1% on every dollar I made while I was just trying to buy Pampers and baby formula. And the mayor back in the day then was scraping my money from me. They take and they take and they take and they waste and they waste and they waste. It's one bad idea after another. It's one fiscal pothole, which is the best way to describe Kansas City, Missouri, is where the money goes is fiscal potholes. You're trying to fill potholes with money. Basically what they do in Kansas City, Missouri, it doesn't work. And this David Booth that's given away $300 million to Kansas Athletics, no weird timing there either. The University of Kansas, the academic part, we talked about this last week. The academic part of KU is broke. They're cutting $32 million out of their annual budget. They have to cut it back immediately, or people will not get raises. They cannot sustain their trajectory at KU. So while the university is going under and going to beg Laura Kelly, before she's out for hundreds of millions of more, she's given them $85 million for a football stadium of your money. Whether you're KU, there was no vote. You got $85 million from Laura Kelly, went to KU football already for the stadium they're opening a week from Saturday. And it's not enough. The other side isn't done, and they don't have the money. They're broke on that deal, too. There's no real convention center. There's no development zone. There's no hotel partner. Everything they said it would be is not there. This is government at its worst. It's Kansas out of control. The school's broke, finally cutting, but Kansas Athletics is going to move forward because they got a whale. We got a whale who's going to write us a check for $300 million and solve all our problems. $75 million is going to go to the stadium. He's putting a pledge out there for other donors to come up with $75 million to complete the football project. The rest of the money, possibly, there have been indications that the rest of the money will start funding salaries for athletes. That's right. Each school gets to spend about $22 million a year on salaries for athletes. That's the going rate. If you subtract the $75 million from the $300, it leaves you to $225. 10% of $225 would fund the NIL every year. David Booth is an investment guy. His company is called Dimensional. He funded it in Chicago, living in a brownstone while in business school at the University of Chicago, and ran it out of a spare bedroom. In 2008, he gave $300 million to the University of Chicago. So $300 million today is nothing for David Booth compared to what it was in 2008, I suspect. He's given $10 million to the University of Texas. He has pledged to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett that he will give half of all his money when he dies to charity. I suspect that will be a windfall for KU. Forbes estimated he was worth over $2 billion in 2021. I think we can safely put him in the area of about $3 billion today. That's awesome. He previously bought the rules of basketball. This is how you get things. And as we discuss sports franchises in Kansas City and all of the tax breaks these teams will get, sales tax revenue, funding facilities, we realize it's somewhere in the middle. When you watch something, a terrible idea like Sunfresh that had no chance of working and they lost $29 million, and then you see something like a bailout at a school by a private individual and say, okay, that solves the problem. The Chiefs and Royals are really somewhere in the middle. They're bringing a proven economic engine that you do not have to worry about going out of business. This is not a risk. It's not a gamble. To take those sales tax revenues for a period of time and give them back to pay off the bonds for building a stadium makes sense if you're going to keep the sales tax revenue for 50 years, 75 years, or 100 years. That's why these states have been so competitive. We saw the report from Fox 4 a couple of days ago, excellent reporting, that said the ownership of the land in Overland Park had been purchased and transferred. The Hesperia campus was owned by Occidental Management, and it was transferred to something called 119 Real Estate Holdings, Inc., which was the owner of the mortgage. Sound like they either foreclosed, they bought them out, they came to a deal, whatever. I asked the Royals about this and got a response from Media Relations Vice President Sam Mellinger, who pointed me to a story at Channel 41 that he thought was more accurate. In that story on Channel 41, a follow-up, it says the name, the mortgage holder, the owner of the land has not changed. It is still Occidental Management. And in the story, it says, quote, the borrower and the lender are working together on the go-forward resolution, and it's business as usual on campus. That was from the president of Occidental Management. His name is Chad Stafford. So what would that mean if the date came for the foreclosure? If the guy that we think it's the guy that owns Creative Planning, the investment firm here in Kansas City, these investment firm guys are so rich. So rich. So I think it's the dude that owns and operates Creative Planning. And I think he's got the land. And I think he knows if the Royals aren't there, he's still going to make money with the land. But it sounds like maybe they've struck a deal here. We own the land. You're a management company. Let's work together with a new ballpark here at 119th and Knoll. To me, this would be an indication that Overland Park is more in the game than out of the game. This is not a real estate company falling back into a position saying, hey, we'll just take the land whether the Royals are there or not. No, they're working with the management company, the people that are already there. That sounds like they're ready to be partners to me in some fashion as operators of this land. We shall see about this Wichita-based Occidental Management Company and Overland Park and 119 real estate holdings. I don't know, but I would glean from this positive news away from Missouri and toward Kansas for the Royals. Just that transaction itself leads me to believe they're working together. And when people start working together, they're working for a common big goal. This was not, hey, we own the land, you're out of here, we're taking this thing over. This is, we have the mortgage, you'll work for us, we got big plans, and we're going to work out really good terms where you're going to work for us, and it's going to be great, even better for us. That's what it looks like to me. But we'll see. I've said it many times before. Kansas has offered 70% of everything, the state, to the Royals and the Chiefs. No owners in the NFL or Major League Baseball have ever turned down 70%. My preference, I don't know anything, my preference in a perfect world would be for the Royals to be in Clay County across the river. I think it's a more baseball-feely place, but it may not generate the revenue of Johnson County or be as close to their fans as Johnson County. I get that. I think Washington Square Park is dead. So I think it's either North Kansas City or Overland Park. And for the Chiefs, I think it's going to be the Legends, which I think is the right thing to do. Or I guess potentially Arrowhead, but I don't know how you can even do business in Jackson County. We got all kinds of shenanigans, folks. It's your money. It's my money. It's David Booth's money. Here's what I know. Put your seatbelt on. Maybe even wear a helmet. Donald Trump is president. The markets are exploding. There is no inflation. We have hundreds of billions of dollars worth of tariffs coming in. Great things are happening everywhere. If that store closed, it doesn't need government help. If it can sustain itself with private investment, it will. Somebody will open Sunfresh and have a market there if there's a way to do it. It may be insanely high prices. If the folks there that are complaining saying we need this for convenience, guess what's convenient? Quick Trip's convenient. I used to get my sodas in the summer, not very long ago, I'll bet 10 years ago. They had 79-cent sodas in the summer. They're like $1.59 now. Okay? There's no free lunch. Are there bargains inside Quick Trip? Sure. They do 99-cent ice cream cones sometimes. Go try to buy your beef jerky in there. Compared to Walmart, it's almost double. You want convenience at Sunfresh on 31st Street? Somebody will come in there and run that as the most expensive store in town, but I'm not sure that's a great business model either. Private industry is the answer. It's not government. 913-408-7957. That's the number to call. If you'd like to join the show, I'd love to hear from you next on Uncanceled. This is KCMO Talk Radio. I think it's funny to watch the Democrats react to Trump federalizing Washington, D.C., which is already federalized, as it is the District of Columbia and is basically run by the federal government. They set it up with a council and a mayor and things that cities have, but clearly it is the domain of the president of the United States. And the things that they're saying about this now are insane. Like Gavin Newsom's upset. Gavin Newsom in California. This is the guy that spent money, asked for help, brought security, and cleaned up San Francisco for the leader of China to visit. Do you remember that? Oh, fresh paint, cleaned up the streets, moved the homeless people, got the crime out, brought in more forces, police. I don't know if he activated the National Guard or not, but he brought in all kinds of state help to get in there and clean up San Francisco for the visit when Xi came. Oh, yeah, it's okay for Newsom, but it's not okay for Trump. But the classic one is Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse. And I just know their names. You know, some of these people are such tools that you can't even get around them. I saw a thing yesterday with Chuck Schumer. It was like a 7-minute Comedy Central bit. Did you know Chuck Schumer's been running around his whole career talking about a family named the Baileys that supposedly live on Long Island and they don't exist? And he's made up all these stories. These people are so fake. It's incredible. Scott Jennings of CNN reposted this thing on Twitter. Chuck Schumer, the Baileys at Long Island, one of them voted for Trump, the other voted for Biden, and then talking about all these different things about him and their children. And, well, he's on leave now because he's ill. It's been going on for like 20 years. Chuck Schumer's been talking about the Baileys. Like he bounces, they're such a typical average New York family that this is the one that I bounce all my political opinions on. And they're completely made up. The guy's been a fraud all those years. I thought it was hilarious. Scott Jennings reposted this thing. It was great. It was just great. I'd never seen it before. I did not. Yeah, this is a New York thing. People in New York would know all about the Baileys because Chuck Schumer talks about them as they pertain to New York all the time. These people are so fraudulent in so many ways. It's crazy. Beto O'Rourke may get arrested in Texas. The attorney general's after him for things that he said and things that he did in relation to this, these lawmakers that left town. The Senate passed the redistricting. They're waiting on the House to do it for it to be law. But the topper is Sheldon Whitehouse, who I couldn't pick out of a lineup, I don't think, but I've heard the name. He's from Rhode Island. He's your classic Democrat. He's on MSNBC, and he's talking about Trump and D.C. being federalized and how bad this is. And he goes on to say, he tells, I don't know, the guy with the big square jaw guy, Lawrence O'Donnell. He says, Democrat mayors could probably use support from the National Guard. That's his quote. But not from Donald Trump. So if it was a different president or a governor that sent in the National Guard to clean something up, that would be okay, but not Donald Trump. There's no position there. There's no pedestal. There's no ground to stand on. There's nothing there. They could probably use some support, but not if Donald Trump says so. This is the problem with them. He then goes into this long-winded answer about how this is some sort of a Jeffrey Epstein diversion by Trump. Epstein diversion? Nobody's talking about Epstein. That thing will go away and needs to go away. Here's the thing that guys like Sheldon Whitehouse haven't learned about Donald Trump. There's a new story every day, and none of them are small. Trump comes up with something, not literally every day, but there's 3 or 4 things a week since he's taken over that just blow your mind. You're like, well, I've never seen that before, never heard of that before, never watched that before, never. And it's like, boom. And then these things are correct, and they work. When will a guy like Sheldon Whitehouse realize, I shouldn't sit here and say this is a diversion by Trump? This is not a diversion. It's the beginning of a bigger plan. Sheldon Whitehouse said this, quote, this is just a photo opportunity. Enforcing the law is simply not what is going to happen, unquote. Sheldon Whitehouse, because the Democrats only know their own world. And he would think, well, if we were doing this, this would be a publicity stunt. We wouldn't actually do anything. We'd be doing this to get votes. Trump is a doer. He's a builder by career, and he's going to build a new D.C. And I can't think of anything more off target than a senator saying this is just a photo opportunity. Enforcing the law is simply not what is going to happen. Day 1 yesterday, 23 arrests, including murder suspects and gun charges. Trump says he's going to take 30 days and see where they are. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you've been to D.C. or you've seen the... what were the Nicolas Cage movies, the ones about stealing the Constitution and stuff? You got to help me on this one, Mark. Oh, I love them.
National Treasure.
National Treasure. Great movies. There are tunnels underneath these buildings. So there's the White House and there's the Capitol. And between that is basically the Smithsonian Museum Network and all these museums that are out there. There are tunnels and tunnels and tunnels. And apparently the National Guard is them. Trump has taken over the museums as well. And we're going to use the tunnels. Now, I don't know exactly why we're using the tunnels, but he's thought of everything. And they will think of everything. And this is not a photo op. There's no photo op in a tunnel. Something going on down there. And this is going to work. And I can't wait to see it. I also thought it was interesting to see Bill Barr supports this. Just days after he was on a list, apparently, that's been subpoenaed to come speak in front of the select committee on oversight on the Capitol. It's a wild time, man. But it's not really about show with Trump in D.C. It's not a photo op. They're there to do a job. I suspect they will do it and do it well. When we continue, how a death in a boat at a ritzy harbor in New York off Long Island is tied to Kansas City on what appears to be a very similar death to those Chiefs fans a couple of years ago. So nice to have you joining us today. We really appreciate you listening to KCMO Talk Radio. I hope you enjoy all the programs across the platforms, wherever you listen, whether it's AM, FM, streaming, through the app, online, any way you do it. It's out there and it's available. If you ever miss anything, if you missed any of the Monday in the morning, you can go right to the KCMO Talk Radio webpage and see all the podcasts, all the important segments from Monday in the morning every day, and listen to those throughout the day. If you missed anything, not many people can listen. I did a 4-hour radio show for 23 years. Not many people can listen to every segment or would want to of a 4-hour radio show. So it's pretty neat the way they're categorized by segment and the topics. Just go to KCMOTalkRadio.com and check out the podcast page. Or if you miss this show from time to time and you want to hear the opening monologue or something we had on, those are there as well. Always great to have you consuming. We appreciate that. It really matters and means a lot to us. And Pete and the whole staff here, John and Mark, do a great job providing content for our community that is useful. And we appreciate that. That's good stuff. There's a case in New York right now that is one of those things that I think we're going to get. It's going to get a lot. Well, it's already gotten a lot more attention than the case in Kansas City because it's New York, but also because it involves a 33-year-old woman that was born in Ireland and immigrated to America. She's lovely. She started a swimwear company in New York with a business partner and was found dead inside a boat at the Montauk Yacht Club that belongs to Christopher Dernan, who is an insurance mogul and has a whole bunch of money and lives out there in the Hamptons or Long Island or wherever these, Montauk. Pete would know. He could tell you exactly where Montauk is. I've only been on Long Island twice, and that was when I flew there. But midnight on August 5th, a naked man is running around the docks at this Montauk Yacht Club, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Help, do something, help, do something." He's throwing containers of sunscreen at different boats, hoping there's people in these boats sleeping that will wake up and help him. I have not read who the naked man is. I don't know that it was Christopher Dernan who owns the boat, but it may have been. The name of the boat is Ripple. It's a Grateful Dead themed boat. He has two boats at this yacht club, and they're both tributes to Grateful Dead. So he's a big deadhead, and he's considerably older than Martha Nolan O'Slattery, who was later found dead when authorities got there. There was no physical altercation, no signs of struggle, no bruising, no anything, and this is believed to be an accidental overdose, which sounds a lot like those Chiefs fans in the Northland that had this issue with the watch party in January a few years ago, where they were found dead days later, frozen dead outside after ingesting drugs. And what happened in Kansas City, authorities in New York are now saying is what they want to pursue. If the toxicology comes back as they believe these drugs were stronger than what the woman and her partner had been taking prior to that night, that drug dealers always ramp up on regular customers the strength of the drugs to keep them coming back and buying. A little bit bigger high, a little bit stronger this, a little bit stronger that. And it was too much for her, and it killed her. That's their working theory. They've not come to that conclusion, nor have they pressed any charges. But what they want to do is go after the drug dealers and charge them for murder. This is relatively new in the United States, and we've had the court cases the last couple of weeks here in Kansas City on the people that provided the drugs to those men that died, those Chiefs fans that died. And it's interesting to see whether it becomes something like, involuntary manslaughter, or whether they go for murder and say, no, you knew these drugs were stronger and you sold them. You knew there was something in them and still sold them, trying to get your customer. Apparently this is I don't know anything about the drug industry. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. That the drug dealers are like, in order to keep my best customers, I got to get them higher and higher and higher every time. Well, that sounds like people that do drugs a lot. You want more, you want more, you want more. And they're looking at Kansas City and everything that was done here. I don't know that they've called and asked for assistance, but they're studying the case. This is going to get a lot of attention because she's lovely. This young lady was lovely. She was a success by all accounts. They want to check the chemical status of drugs and the chemical status of what was in her body and see if this was something that was, in all likelihood, if someone accidentally overdoses on something that's recreational on a boat, not that you can't do it, not that it couldn't have been suicide, if this was because the drug dealers were providing something other than what they claimed they were dealing. So it'll be interesting to see that. I mentioned a few minutes ago what's going on in Texas with the Senate down there. They passed the new map. We've talked about the redistricting in Texas. The Senate passed it yesterday. And this is, does anybody even know or remember this is Jasmine Crockett's district? The crazy lady that wants to be a social media influencer, not really a Democrat congresswoman, but she won her district and she's in D.C., and she doesn't like to do traditional media because she says she's a social influencer. So we got the lady in Illinois, Delia, who says she's more Guatemalan first and America second. She had a news conference yesterday. At least she does the traditional news conference. She said that ICE is a terrorist organization. I believe in free speech in this country, but I'm not listening to anyone that says they're Guatemalan first and American second. Sorry, your words are hollow with me. I'm not listening. But Jasmine Crockett is running around saying she wants to be a social media influencer. Well, I think she's going to get her wish because Texas is redistricting her district, remapping her district. That's one of the 5 that they believe will turn Republican. Now, this has to go to the House in Texas to pass, and these Democrats are ending their holdout because they're being threatened to be arrested and locked up and jailed. They're playing tough in Texas at the State House. The governor, the Texas Rangers, the Attorney General in the state of Texas, they're playing very tough with the Democrats, saying, get back to work. This is the people's business, and we're going to do it. We know the metrics here. We know the numbers. We know the 15 states or whatever it is that have only Democrat congressmen and women and no Republicans. We know those. This is still going to leave Democrats in Texas. This isn't wiping the slate clean. This is just getting it to that 83% threshold that Illinois has, that California has. New York has 79%. Texas is just getting in line with these other states that have already done it. This is playing catch up. Regardless of what you hear, they're playing catch up. But they're doing this, and it's passed. And Jasmine Crockett may have been done anyway. When they remap this district, she may not run for re-election by saving herself the embarrassment. She has a slew of staffers, and now Democrats are circling around like sharks. They kind of want her out. They think she's an embarrassment. You think? Former staffers describe working for her as hellish, as unorganized, mean, spiteful, and misconduct all over the place within the office. So she's got all kinds of problems on her own that way. Adam Schiff has problems. There's a piece today at Daily Caller that says Adam Schiff is in real trouble because of the findings of what happened in his secret intel meetings where he told Democrats to go out and fake information. Don't give away the secret information. Not the classified stuff that we know. Don't use any of that. Let's make this stuff up about Trump and let's take it to the media to get them thinking, there's so much more. It's all there. We're going to get him indicted. This on the heels of the mortgage fraud that there's a case pending in Maryland because he had 2 main residences, one in California, a tiny little apartment, studio apartment, and then a big house in Maryland, which is where he could be in real trouble for getting a first mortgage on the house saying it was his main residence. So all of this is coming to a head, and as we are now 6 months in, nothing has calmed down with the Democrat Party. I can't tell you which way they're going. It seems like the people with all the influence in the media coverage want to go toward communism. Bernie Sanders was just the tip of the iceberg. We know that he honeymooned in the Soviet Union because he loved the Soviet Union so much and communism. But AOC has been out there, but she's mostly been a liberal, but now she's moving that way. If this is even possible, AOC is moving even more towards Mamdani and the communists and the people from other countries that have come in here, gained citizenship, and taken these things over. What is around Mamdani, the people advising him, including his dad, who's a university professor, and what you would call his cabinet at this point for his campaign, Charlie Kirk, conservative pundit Charlie Kirk, has basically described it as a Politburo. He says, if you think communism is rampant in China or the way they did things in the Soviet Union, you should see these people around him. None of them love America or like anything about it. They want complete and utter change. It isn't about winning the mayor's office of New York. It's about a movement and recruiting young people and convincing them that communism is better here than America. Now, I'm not saying we go back to the days of McCarthy and have, we just start rounding people up and arresting them for being communists. I think we win the battle of ideas. I don't feel any real imminent danger from the communists at this point. They may win in some places, but I think when they do, the receipts will be worth it. Will it suck to live in New York? Yeah, it probably does anyway. But the bottom line is Americans will see it, and most Americans that don't really ever want to go to New York or be in New York or identify with New York will say, yeah, we want to be anything but that. That party's not for us. And they will do more harm than good. I think this gigantic push left, remember, the guy that held back from going far left, from going socialist or communist, and he is at his core, or maybe Marxist, is Barack Obama. But he wouldn't do it as president. Even with 2 years to go, he didn't do it. Worried about his legacy. He pushed the envelope. He got health care. That's enough. I was here 8 years. I federalized Obamacare. I'll go down in history as the first black president. I got Obamacare. I'm good. But then he unleashed the hounds and started pushing everyone else to go left, 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 to go absolutely crazy. And they have. And we've seen that over time. And now we have communists in plain sight. We have members of Congress that say they're Guatemalan first and American second. It's unthinkable. As recently as 10 years ago, you would have never thought this could happen. But I think what we learned over the Biden years is when these things happen, it's good for America. It's good for Americans to see it and understand it for what it is and know that it doesn't work and it's not for them. I feel like there's momentum. I think there's the momentum with young voters that love America. I think there's a whole lot of young men in this world that like pretty girls better than ugly girls. That's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. And if that's what one party is pushing with jeans commercials or what, it's not going to hurt anything. We don't need transgender models. That's for a very small slice of people. We're back, baby, is the bottom line. Let Mamdani win. I really don't care that much about New York. It won't work. They'll throw him out. Some real Democrat will come in and beat him. There's word on the street that Trump's going to get really involved in this thing and try to keep him from winning. I don't know if that's the fight you want to pick. I know Trump loves New York City. I'm not sure unless there is a pathway and he brokers a deal with the other candidates that it narrows down to one candidate that can beat Mamdani and they all agree we're going to support this one candidate. Maybe you do something like that, but I'm already exhausted by the Mamdani stories. I'm more interested to see what he will do because he's talking a big game about turning New York into a communist New York. And they're going to have Sunfresh stores all over the place. And every one of them is going to go broke. You may recall that Donald Trump ticked him off earlier in his presidency this time around by taking over the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts and said, no, it's losing money. There aren't people in the seats. We're taking this thing over. And he started it by having a giant event and then a fireworks show. Apparently there's a balcony outside the Kennedy Center. I've not been there. That overlooks maybe the Potomac, and there was this huge fireworks show, and these people paid all this money to come there. He's like, we're bailing this thing out. We're going to make it profitable. We're going to bring in shows that people want to see. We're going to do things people like instead of the weird sex crap that's been going on here forever, which is what they were doing. They were doing all kinds of weird Democrat-type things in there and calling it art. Trump took it back. It made him mad. They weren't sure what was going to happen. Well, he just announced who they're going to induct into the awards, Kennedy Center Awards for the Performing Arts. Oh, baby, we are so back. George Strait is going in. The cowboy rides, baby. Sylvester Stallone. Okay, keep score here. We've got the country legend, the action hero, great American hero draped in a flag, Rocky, is going in. American supermodel Cindy Crawford is going in. Disco Queen Gloria Gaynor is in. And the wild men, conservative wild men of KISS are going in. This is so great.
The headline, we ended woke at Kennedy Center.
I know it. He's giving a speech right now. Woke is broke at Kennedy Center. George Strait, Sylvester Stallone, Cindy Crawford, Gloria Gaynor, and KISS. Conservative entertainment is art-worthy as well. Do you have a favorite there, Mark? Who's your favorite of that group?
I mean, you got to say Cindy Crawford, right?
Well, you were thinking differently than me. I was going to go with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
But Rocky,
Fair.
you know, I'm older than you. Rocky was a really big, important movie at a time where we needed it in the 70s. We were coming out of the Vietnam War. People didn't feel good about America. There was Rocky. Then the second movie or third movie, he was fighting a Soviet fighter. Every time it was the American flag, Rocky Balboa, the freedom and liberty of Philadelphia running those steps. It was pretty cool. But yes, let's take Cindy Crawford out of the equation and pick the next artist.
Oh, man. I guess I go Kiss. I like The Rock.
I had you for Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I had you down for Kiss for sure. All right, the New York Mets last night hit 6 home runs in a baseball game, Mark. Why were their fans upset?
Did they still lose?
No, they won.
Okay. I'm not sure. Why would they be upset about that?
They ran out of fireworks.
That happened to the Chiefs once.
It did. When was that?
It was, I think it was when they beat the Texans in that playoff game.
Oh, when they had the mad comeback?
Yes.
Every
they ran
touchdown.
out of fireworks, yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So here's what I think. You can hit 6 home runs in a game. That's not some kind of a record, I don't think. So don't you think maybe the first 2 or 3, the fireworks guy just got a little aggressive?
Yeah.
And so do you think he gets paid by how many bombs shoot off? Or does he get paid for the night no matter what?
I think he gets paid for the night no matter what.
So this was operator error. They
I
put
think
a
so.
giant sign up on the video board after the home run said, "We're so sorry, we're out of fireworks." And the fans were not very happy with that. The Royals need to go 26-16 now, Mark. On Monday, we said they need to go 28-16. They've won 2 in a row. Vinny had a 3-jack last night and 5 RBIs. 26-16, yes or no, will the Royals do that?
This is doable. This
It's
is doable. I think they can do it. Now, will the other teams ahead of them keep falling, like the Yankees? The Astros are now almost in a wild card spot. Maybe, I don't know. But we'll see. They're putting themselves in position. That's what we need to have happen.
If they go 26-16, we believe they will do damage to the people in front of them.
Yeah.
They have 4 with the Rangers coming up beginning Monday.
Then they've got the Tigers.
Yeah. Well, the Tigers don't count for the wild card. They're going to win the division.
They could, though, if they keep losing.
Well, that would mean the Royals caught them or the Guardians, which is probably not what we want. I think we want the Tigers to just go ahead and win the division. So 26-16 is doable. I still don't think they have it in them. But this homestand just got interesting. It's 10 games. It's the longest of the year. The Royals play at 1 o'clock today against the Nationals. If you want to go to a game today, Seth Lugo's pitching. It'd be a great day to be out at the ballpark.
Nice weather.
This game matters. They can get the sweep. Great weather. The White Sox come to town Friday. They're better, but they're still the White Sox. The Royals have been very good against the White Sox. On Monday, the Rangers are here for 4 games. The Royals are 60-60. The Rangers are 61-60. 3 out of 4 in that series will go a long way.
Mm-hmm. Got to win that one.
So this homestand just got really important and really interesting, and they're off to a great start as they're hitting the ball. We love seeing that. Zach Bryan, the country singer we talked about earlier this week, he's doubling down on the Chiefs. He's now saying his life's goal is to taunt Chiefs fans. Thoughts?
I heard he's playing in Bonner Springs next year.
Says he's not playing Kansas City.
He says not Kansas City, but he says he's playing Bonner Springs. He
Really?
doesn't understand it. He doesn't
Oh, my
understand
God.
Kansas City.
That guy's nuts. And Aaron Rodgers, best quote of training camp, said they played the Jaguars in the preseason game, but he's 41 years old and everybody over there is in their 20s. He says, I didn't know which player to go shake their hands. I don't know anybody. He said, I looked like Joe Biden. I was bouncing around, looking right to left, didn't know where to go. So I didn't know anybody. Aaron Rodgers. The Vince Show's coming up next.